awaited official opening.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and now to know more about the tourism sector, I'm really delighted to have with me over the phone Mr. Abdel Hamid Salah Sharief, Chairman of the Egyptian Heritage Rescue Foundation. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Reem. How are you? Good evening.
I'm fine, thank you, sir. I'm really delighted to have you with me over the phone. First of all, I would love to hear more about the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, and its importance to Egypt. As you know, sir, that a few days ago, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, the Prime Minister, held a press conference followed by after the cabinet meeting along with Dr. Rania Al-Mashad, the Minister of Planning and International Cooperation. They mentioned that for the economic development, it is important to stress on 4 sectors. One of them is the tourism sector. So how is the Grand Egyptian Museum important or considered a turning point in the tourism sector in your point of view?
Let's first start that Egyptian history needs to be well preserved and well displayed to everyone, locally, regionally, and internationally. So we, since a very long time, we were waiting to have like a huge construction to display some of what we have, and I think both Grand Egyptian Museum and the other museum for Egyptian civilization, it's so much important to present our history to the world with new scenario, with more advanced technology and in well-preserved climate. So I think by now, every tourist would like to visit Egypt. He will have the opportunity not only to visit the pyramids, but he can go in a walking distance to see the Grand Egyptian Museum, to see every kind of collection that represent a great history of Egyptian civilization in the Egyptian time. However, it's not about the display, it's not about showing the collection, it's about also the cultural activity that align with the displaying of this collection. And all the facilities and the surrounding area of the Grand Egyptian Museum will help to provide better opportunity for those tourists to have much better experience to see Egypt, and at the same time that, of course, and what we hope, that this will impact the outcome of having tourists in Egypt, and hopefully that will host more and more in the next years.
Yes, of course. And also, we heard from you the importance of the Grand Egyptian Museum for Egypt, but I would like to hear more about its importance to the world. You know, sir, the Grand Egyptian Museum, it costed more than $1 billion, and it has a lot of monuments that goes back to 700,000 years, and many more gifts to the world from this Grand Egyptian Museum. So how is it a gift to the whole world? How is it important to the whole world, not just to Egypt?
It's a school, it's a university all over the world teaching Egyptian history. And most of the museums all over the world, they host very nice and very important collection coming from Egypt. And now we have the opportunity to show our history in our way, in our time, in the timeline that we'd like to present it to the world. So by using the word that we are giving a gift to the world, it's a serious thing. It's not about the cost of building a museum. It's about the cost of not only a museum, because you are also having the most important and the most advanced restoration labs to do the conservation and all the needed restoration and examination for the collection, not only for those that will be presented in the Grand Egyptian Museum, but for all over the collection from any museum all over Egypt. So it's not about a museum, it's like a huge research institution, including restoration labs, very advanced restoration labs, and this first time that we have in Egypt in that level of technology. Second, we present it in a very good way. Third, how every single tourist, I'm sure, that will have and would be interested and motivated to visit this museum to see how Egypt can show their history to the world. So I think this will be so much important event, not just for us, but for all people in the world.
Of course, Mr. Abdel Hamid. Also, I would love to know more about the preparations for the winter season.
I think the government doing a lot of effort in terms of enhancing the infrastructure, in terms of transportation, the roads, and all the means that to keep tourists more comfortable in Egypt. And this was like done because of a huge survey done by the government and by the certain authorities that every time you ask a tourist that they love our history, they love our museums, they love our temples, our mosques, historical cities, but they always complain about that they are not feeling comfortable to move from here and there. And I think now Egypt providing a very important infrastructure to facilitate the movement and the transportation for everyone, especially not only in the winter but also in the summer. Another thing that the government and mainly the Ministry of Antiquities, they are every year before the winter they start to do some mitigation measures in order to prevent the impact of rains in Egypt here for both actually museums and open sites. So many steps, a lot of cooperation done between the governmental entities and also between the private sector to give this season much more serious actually to attract more tourists hopefully in the winter more than ever that happened before.
Sure, Mr. Abdel Hamid. Also, according to many tourism experts, there is an increased rate in the Gulf tourism in Egypt. How do you comment on this?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Again, I'm sorry.
According to many tourism experts, there is an increased rate in the Gulf tourism in Egypt, the tourism from countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and all the Gulf countries. How do you comment on this?
Actually, we still have the best infrastructure ever for tourism, and we still have the best assets, because it's not only about cultural tourism. You have the Red Sea tourism, you have the desert tourism, and you have a lot of different variety. Egypt has a variety of tourism. So I'm not saying that they are not competing with us, but what I'm saying that if we keep going actually the same level of development and planning in the same way that the government is doing now, I think we'll still have the best and the highest segment in the tourism sector. Inshallah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdel Hamid Salah al-Sharief, for your very helpful insights, the chairman of the Egyptian Heritage Rescue Foundation. Thank you so much, sir. Dear viewers, that brings us to the end of today's episode. I was delighted to be with you along with my colleague, Shireen. Thank you, Shireen.
Thank you, Reem. And dear viewers, until we meet you again, it's goodbye.